So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dapper Reacts number 50, Robertsaurus carteri, which of course means Carter's Robert lizard, which it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you know what? It's there for the fun of it, so it doesn't matter. I'm here, of course, as usual, with Vishanti. Vishanti, how are you? Yeah, that's about what I expect. Yeah. Well, before we get into this, I want to point out that DM artificially selected 𝘙𝘰𝘣𝘦𝘳𝘶𝘳𝘶 for $5 says, have family over, might not get to participate today, but by the glory of Darwin and the great green arkle seizure, turtles are the best tetrapod. Thank you very much. So now that we have the
Cookies right. I expect several transition species slideshows during this one. Unfortunately, due to moving, I haven't had time to make the tradition music for Vishanti to sing over. Okay.
Okay.
Hee.
So, we are here once again to keep looking at Robert Carter, I can talk, going through about dinosaurs. We've still got 33 minutes and 15 seconds of this left, and at this pace, that'll keep us for like a month. Because we're lucky if we get past 10 minutes of stuff over the course of 2 hours, you know? So, yeah. But that's okay. We are, in fact, instituting the drinking rules. So, in case I will go over that, I am just drinking a little bit of rum and cola. It's a little bit on the weaker side, mostly because... Yeah, it is. It's the morning. I, had 2 other drinking streams earlier. It's just, it would be a lot to go for a stiff drink. So, I'm not going for a stiff drink. And that's okay. But,
I'm just having standard coffee.
what makes it standard? Is it just black?
It's not Irish.
Okay. All right. Get some Irish cream though.
There's no modifiers.
Okay.
No.
No modifiers. So just black coffee, no sugar?
Yeah, I typically don't put sugar in my coffee. Like, if it's good enough quality beans, I'll drink it just black. I don't mind it because I know how to pair coffee with food. Right. If it's not the greatest quality, I'll put in like a non-dairy creamer or something just to give it a little bit of
kick
flavor.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go over
just a teeny bit though.
Yeah, a little bit. Let's go over the rules real quick so we can tell when people should and shouldn't drink. But first, before we do that, we want to say, first of all, you are allowed to not drink during this. You are allowed to play along with something other than alcohol, juice, tea, soda, water, milk, coffee, whatever. All of it's fine as far as I'm concerned. Vape pen, I don't care. But if you do decide to play along with an intoxicating substance, please be careful, know your limits, pace yourself. Do not then go and drive or operate heavy machinery. It won't be safe. Don't text your ex. We here at the Dapper Dinosaur channel, including Vishanti and myself personally, do not take liability or responsibility for you choosing to play along, not knowing your limits, and then getting hurt. That's on you. With that being said, I want to say that Reverend Howell for £2 says, what biped is the best tetrapod? I'm not sure the best tetrapod is a biped, but probably Ceratosaurus if we're restricting it to
interesting
just bipeds.
YouTube apparently decided it's going to let you thumbs up like super chats.
Yes, I did notice that.
Huh. Oh, Coop23 says standard and Irish, the 2 genders. Yes.
Oh, that's Godzilla. So let's take our first drink, and that is one of our drinks. We have a couple of Godzilla-based drink triggers. One is, if Godzilla comes by audibly, like he just did, we'll take a drink. Also, the same is true for Mothra. Also, if anyone super chats or membership milestone chats, any chat that includes any of the kaiju emojis that we have just for channel members, that includes Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, we'll take a drink for that, too. We will also take a drink if Dr. Robert Carter says something so stupid we just kind of have to. Or if he gets something that's actually right without it just being a quotation. Quoting someone who's right doesn't count. Robert Carter himself has to actually be right. Also, Inkboy for £2 says, both of you are wrong. GIF is read as giraffe. All right. There you go.
Chiff is ready giraffe. I'm with you, Ain't Boy.
It's a giraffe file. All right. Yeah, sure. I'll accept
Chiff.
that. No, it's giraffe.
Again, we don't say scubba.
I can if I want to.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. We'll also take a drink if Dr. Robert Carter tells a story that didn't happen or a joke that doesn't land. We'll also take a drink if one of us can successfully predict what Robert Carter is going to do next. Now, ad hominid probably won't come up because this is a talk about dinosaurs, so I'm not expecting him to talk about Lucy at all. But if he does, and he confuses the specimen Lucy with any larger taxon and draws conclusions about a larger taxon because of what is on or not in Lucy's skeleton, we'll take a drink for that. So, for instance, if he says something like, well, we don't know if, Lucy had, an inline or a divergent big toe. Yeah, that's an ad hominid, because, yes, we do, because we have other Australopithecus feet, so we don't need hers. Jillian, not yet doxed friend, who's been a member for 11 months, is at the amniote level, says, can't stick around for the whole stream because my daughter's 7th birthday today, but hope you have fun with a Mothra. We'll take a drink for the Mothra. And happy birthday to your daughter. I hope that she has a wonderful birthday and that you have a fun party for her. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. 11, yeah, look at that. Oh, 7th birthday. Yeah, look at that. Such a tiny little kid.
Siete.
Yeah, for a second I thought it was 11th birthday, but then I realized, no, I'm reading 11 months of a membership. That's not the same thing. Yeah.
Fearmonger, aka Mr. Evolution. Vish, you know how everyone reacted to Uno saying that you can't stack a +2 on a +2? That's me right now.
Thanks for the acronyms. I'll take it from
here. Yep. Yep. Exactly.
All right. So we'll also take a drink if Dr. Robert Carter mentions the, say, ruling party in Germany in like the 30s and 40s. You know, those National Socialists. Yeah, the ones who, if you call socialists without including the national, then you're probably being a dishonest grifter. Yeah, those ones.
Or chud.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think chud is just a small circle inside of the larger grifter circle.
Yeah, I mean, because, like, not all chuds are grifters, but...
I think most of them are at least wannabe grifters. Like, if you look at, like chud or just, like, far right-wing spaces, it's all just so grifty. There's so many scams all over the place. Crypto scams, land scams, like, investments. It's just all over the place. So much scamming. I guess they're embracing the worst aspects of capitalism. Which, okay, that's what you want to do. Anyway, let's take a drink if either of us can predict what Robert Carter is going to say before he says it, where it's not clear what he's going to say. There's a few other ways that you guys can give us a drink. If anyone super chats or membership milestone chats anything to the effect that AIG, that's Answers in Genesis, are a bag of dicks, we'll take a drink. Also, we will drink for every gifted membership. So, you want to make me drink 5 times in rapid succession? Just, get 5 memberships. And Mark A. Smith, who's been a member for 13 months and is at the tetrapod level, says Chud with CHUD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean...
Man, that's a movie I haven't thought about in a while.
I mean, yeah. That is where it comes from, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. All right. I think I've covered all the... Oh, there's also Dapper's a Professional. It's fairly recently added. If I screw up with the production of this show, which is very likely... I will take a drink for Dapper's a Professional. Because, yeah, I'm totally good at this, you guys. The South Geek 6 Return of the Tunicats for €5 said, let me remind everyone to hit like for 3 consecutive live streams. I can't talk. Without that pesky Hobbit showing up. Yes, yeah, the past 3 live streams, no one got bilboed because you all hit like early and often. And I appreciate that. But just make sure you hit the like button an odd number of times. You can hit it as many times as you want, as long as you end on an odd number. Even numbers are right out. So. Alright. With that, what do you say? Are we ready to dive into some Robert Carter? Or, more accurately, are you likely to be more ready in the next couple minutes or so?
Probably not.
Alright then, you're as ready as you're gonna be. I have to say it that way because no one's ever ready for this, but, like, you're not going to be any more ready, so let's go.
Oh, White Wolf. Oh, human-occupied landfill.
Ooh.
Is there any evidence that dinosaurs died during a flood?
Yes, there is evidence that some dinosaurs died in various floods. No, there is no evidence that any dinosaurs died in a worldwide flood, because there is no evidence for a worldwide flood. Instead, there is just so much counter-evidence. just so much. Yeah, so that's the quick answer to that question.
You know, Grace Havocker in the chat says 5 is the even number of odd numbers, and you know what? I actually feel that. I feel that.
I'm not sure what that means.
Sometimes you can't, like, explain something, you just have to vibe with it.
Okay.
And that's how I'm feeling.
Hey, I'm not here to harsh those vibes. Just because I'm not feeling it doesn't mean you can't, and you have fun with it. I'm a live and let live kind of guy when it comes to stuff like that. I'm like, hey, yeah, if that's fun for you, then yeah, go for it. It's fine by me. As long as you're not denying science or harming people, which I don't think that is. So yeah, fine.
So much evidence is unbelievable.
Well, I'll agree with him on one point. It is unbelievable. Yeah, the evidence for the flood does leave the flood unbelievable. Yeah, take a drink. That's true. Jeez.
And you've all seen it.
Oh.
The paleontologists have been looking at it for a long time and didn't know what they were seeing.
I mean,
okay.
So he's kind of right. This is called the epistotonic posture, and he is right that for a while scientists did not have a good idea as to what it was, and now they have a much better idea. So we're going to take a drink for him being right there. What's actually happening is that this is what happens when a dinosaur ends up in usually fresh, cold water. And by cold, I mean relatively cold, right? It doesn't need to be freezing or anything.
They gave this phrase the dead dinosaur posture because usually when we find an attacked dinosaur, it's in that pose, this pose.
No, actually, usually when we find a dead dinosaur, it's completely disarticulated. So that's just... I have no idea why you would lie like this, Robert Carter. I can't imagine you don't know that the vast majority of dinosaur finds are disarticulated bits of skeleton and not even partially articulated. But Inkboy, who's been a member for 22 months, says you have to leave your volume in an even number, or if that's impossible, 5 is acceptable as an even number. Even if you leave it as an odd number, you are AIG. And then Mr. Cliff says, AIG is a bag of dicks for 2 pounds, but he says it backwards. Thank you very much. I'll take a drink for that.
So, oh man, yeah, the volume thing. I've met people who have like really strong. I don't want to say impulses, but they really feel strongly about having their volumes, like on their TVs or radios, set to specific digits, odd or even. And yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's not gonna harm me.
I would like to see a speed limit sign that it does not end in a 0 or a 5. That's what I would like.
Actually, I actually did see some on my road trip out here, but I couldn't take a photo of it because it's
too bad. I would have pulled over.
It's going too fast.
I would have pulled over because it's always a 0 or a 5. It doesn't matter if you're doing the only time I see any exceptions are actually, I'm not even sure if I've seen an exception because I'm like, maybe if there's one that has kilometers per hour. There is actually a road in the United States. It's a highway, and I think it's in Maine, that has kilometer per hour speed limits on it. It's because it was part of one of the numerous attempts to get the United States to switch over to metric. And so they were like, yeah, our new road, they're going to be metric, and we're going to measure things in kilometer markers, and we're going to give a kilometer per hour speed, kph speed limit. So they did it on this one thing, and then that attempt was just abandoned because it was so unpopular. No one liked it. But
I mean, yeah, and it's like mile markers still have kilometers on it, and I'm like, yeah, no one pays attention to those.
The cognitive trifurcation says Maine is just South Canada. I mean, don't tell the people in Maine that. They are fiercely independent.
And Vadim, I do remember analog volume knobs. My dad's first truck, like that I remember, had an 8-track player in it, so...
Nice. I mean, weren't those just rheostats, basically? It now occurs to me people might not know what a rheostat is.
I don't know.
All right.
Disney parking lots 12 miles an hour, and they want... Yeah, I mean, because I have seen speed limits that are, like, really bizarre numbers, because you look at it, and your brain goes, oh, 12? And then you are more aware of, like, the speed you're driving, because if you see, like, 35, you're like, yeah, whatever.
DM points out that he said complete skeletons, so he's only talking about articulated skeletons. Yeah, but articulated and complete isn't the same thing. You can have a complete disarticulated skeleton, and you can have a incomplete disarticulated skeleton. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe he's just being sloppy. Silver Harlow, who's been a member for 23 months and is at the Tetrapod level, says, almost 2 years. Nice. 1 more month to go.
And that's...
Oh, and we got another Turkey Sloth for $5 says, Dapper, any idea who this bag of dicks with Robert's name on it belongs to? Yeah, I think it belongs to AIG, so we'll take a drink for that.
Bizarre, because when animals die, they don't do that.
They do if they drop in water. And they're dinosaurs. Squirrels,
cows, wolves, whatever. When they die, they just kind of flop. They don't arch backwards. And it was a mystery. And then a couple years ago, some scientists were studying chickens, and they realized you take a dead chicken and put it in water, it does that.
No, it needs to be specifically certain ranges with both temperature and salinity of the water. Not any water will do this, but yes, it does happen in water. And yeah, it is true that most sediment around the world was deposited by water, and most fossils are in sediment. So yeah, most animals that you find in the fossil record were buried underwater. But here's something cool. Vishanti, here's a quick pop quiz for you. Are there methods of deposition for sediment that are waterborne, but not the result of a flood?
Yeah.
Yeah, turns out there's a lot.
Have you ever heard of the Mississippi River Delta?
So much sediment gets moved by that thing, man. So much sediment. And remind me, is it itself a flood?
No. It does flood occasionally,
well, yeah.
But it's not a flood itself.
Huh.
Just a river.
Weird.
Really squiggly one.
Yeah, so squiggly there's like an entire like division of the Army Corps of Engineers trying to get it to squiggle less and failing.
I mean, we've redirected the squiggles, and we're not gonna enjoy the repercussions of that for...
Jeez.
You know.
No, the squiggles must run through New Orleans, or else. It's like, well, we're gonna get some or else either way, guys, because... Wow. But yeah. Mississippi is CGI. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Just like the whole Earth.
Yeah.
So they started thinking and thinking. There's a structure in a lot of long-necked and long-tailed animals. It's called the ligamentum elasticum. The elastic ligament. It's a rubber band. It runs from the base of the skull, down the spine, and down the tail. And so a chicken, or a dinosaur, didn't need muscles to hold his head up. He had his elastic band doing the work for him. That's a brilliant design feature. But that...
I mean, you don't get to say it's
design feature.
Yeah, you have to demonstrate the design, and you've never done that, but okay.
That thing is always under tension. What happens if you take that animal and now drown it?
It shrinks a bit as it decays in the water. And therefore it curves up. Yeah, like he's right about this. I just don't know what the relevance is, because the only place he's going to go with this is, so if these dinosaurs were in water, therefore flood, as if floods are the only thing that involves water. Savage Geological Species Concept Cobra for $2 says, slaps roof, you can fit so much deposition. Yes, slap the hood of the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
It's still under tension, but it doesn't weigh as much. And boing.
Oh my goodness. No, it's really not just the weight. Because if that were the case, then if you just held a dinosaur upside down, it would curl up. That's not the case. It's the shrinking from the water, but I mean, sure, I'm sure buoyancy helps, I guess. But whatever, it doesn't. It's a minor point.
The natural response is to do that. So now the evolutionary paleontologists are telling us that the dead dinosaur posture is evidence of drowning.
Let's take a drink, because that's really dumb, and we're going to talk about it. Hey, do you remember earlier when he said that the scientists were putting dead chickens in water? Remember that, Vishanti?
What?
When earlier he said the scientists doing this experiment were putting dead chickens in water?
Yeah.
Okay, if you go into the water dead, are you going to drown when you're in the water?
Nope.
Right, because you have to go into the water alive in order to drown the water, right? Because yeah. So no,
Turns
it's
out
not.
that's one of the things that like forensics looks for when someone's found in the water. It's like, hey, was there water in their lungs?
Yeah, did they actually drown,
Did they die before or after?
Yeah,
entering the water.
So here's the thing: I'm not saying that those animals wouldn't do that if they had drowned. I'm just saying this is what happens when they're dead in the water. And there's a lot of reasons an animal might end up dead in the water that aren't drowning. Just going to put that out there. Yeah. Dead animals end up in rivers all the time. And here's one of the great things about this, right? You might not know this, but water flows downhill because of this thing called gravity. Now, stop me if I lose you, because this might be really advanced, right? What? Dead things also tend to fall, and if they get moved or rolled, the tendency is for them to go downhill. And you know what tends to happen if you go downhill enough?
You drag stuff along with you?
You do, and also there's a very high chance you'll end up at or in water. That's why if you have no navigation equipment with you and you're lost out in the wilderness somewhere, going downhill is not the worst option, because chances are eventually you'll hit water, and if you follow water, you'll eventually hit a human settlement. So go downhill. So, as a result, a lot of things that didn't drown end up in rivers. That's why, you shouldn't just drink river water. You should, boil it and purify it and whatnot. Because, it's really gross. Even... especially the further downstream you get. But also, we just had Ben Thick Tunicate gift 5 memberships. Then went to Mayan Finish Chapter 1, Vagary Local Interdimensional Cephalopod, Christopher Sanford, Jerry Lotus, Charles Starbuck, and Toblickson. I'm not really sure. Please correct me. But here come 5 drinks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, yeah. The idea that an animal might end up in the water after it dies it's just so uninterestingly boring and happens all the time. It's just it's not even worth getting into, how could this have happened? It's extremely obvious. Man,
speaking of ridiculous, quote-unquote gotchas like that, somebody was like, why don't we ever find, all these human settlements in the jungle, and why don't we find human bones and all these and I'm like, do you understand how acidic jungle soil is? Do you understand how quickly decomposition and rotting happens in a rainy environment?
Yeah.
Filled with biological life?
Yeah. An entire, mammoth skeleton could get completely eaten away in a jungle in a year or two, whereas out in the desert you could have something that just lays out there for years. That's in a remote enough place. And
it's if they build a lot of stuff out of wood or local materials, that it'll rot. It's not like stone. That's why we find Mayan stuff, because they use stone to build some stuff.
Yeah, but interestingly,
even though they lived in jungles.
Yeah, those a lot of those Mayan ruins don't actually involve the actual housing that people lived in day to day, because they weren't making that out of stone. So we don't have
making that out of stone.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of Mayan villages, even though we know they must have existed. Instead, we just have.
Why don't we find the rope at and I'm like, do you not understand how this works?
Yeah, no, it's people have really limited abilities to think about these things. It doesn't take that much thought. Hey guys, do you think that stone might last longer than rope? Yeah, I do actually. That's why we don't build pyramids out of rope. Because if rope was going to last that long, maybe we would. I don't know.
To ask the question, how come In the vast majority of cases, when we find an attacked dinosaur, it was drowned, because these are land animals.
That has yet to be demonstrated, man. The reason that we find the vast majority of relatively intact dinosaur skeletons in waterborne sediments are twofold. One, that's most sediments, so that's where we find most of all fossils. And two, because dead things get into the water. You need to go further to indicate drowning, right? Showing that something ended up in the water post-mortem is not enough to conclude drowning. Now, it's usually you also can't exclude drowning, right? Most dinosaurs, we can't, like skeletons like this, we can't figure out a cause of death. There's just not enough evidence left. But the thing that doesn't mean is that you get to just decide what you think the cause of death is based on what would be convenient for you, right? It's the same thing with like UFOs, and people are like, well, I guess it must be aliens then. Like, no. The unknown part is unknown. You don't get to just say that it's aliens because you like that idea. You actually have to provide evidence for that idea in order for it to be taken seriously. Also, Cookies Riot for $5 says, confirmation bias. All fossils with one pose died in a global flood. All fossils not in that pose must have died at a different time in a different way. Yes, of course. And then Mark A. Smith for $5 says, Vishanti, I think they understand they intentionally lie about it with a Godzilla. And
some of them do, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing that happens. And it's really annoying. So we'll take a drink for that Godzilla, though. Ah, here we go.
They're buried with fish, and they're buried with clams. Very curious. Now, the one dinosaur...
Not very curious that a dead animal ends up in a river or the ocean and gets buried with ocean and river life. It's really not that interesting.
That doesn't form this is the ankylosaurs. The little tanks, armor-plated...
This is little tanks as if they were the size of, like, bison at the small end and elephants at the... Well, not elephant, but, like, they're huge. They're not little.
Tanks about as big as a car with a club on the tail.
Oh, okay, fine. He knows they're about as big as a car. I take it back, Robert Carter. You were just being a little, like, cheeky there. That's fine.
But we usually find them upside down.
We found some extraordinarily well-preserved ones upside down. I would definitely need to see a citation for we usually find them upside down. Because I don't know that to be the case. I've never seen anyone do a study on that.
Upside down.
Yeah.
Because when you take a top-heavy animal and drown it, it flips over as it sinks.
Or what if it just falls in the water from some other cause of death? I don't know.
So, there's evidence of the flood throughout the entire paleontological record of dinosaurs.
Just drink.
If you put it that way, you're like, oh, interesting.
Hey man, what about those dinosaurs?
If you just cherry pick stuff, you could show evidence for anything.
Mm-hmm. But also, what about those dinosaurs in like Aeolian sand deposits, like the fighting dinosaurs from Mongolia? See, is it gonna address that?
Unwelcome nuance.
Yeah, let's not worry about non-water deposited sediment. I mean, it's not like tuff is a thing or anything, right? Tuff doesn't exist. That's not a real rock. Pfft. Get out of here with that whole subaerial ashfall thing. Volcanoes are fake, so we don't have to worry about it.
I mean,
next question.
If you're Renee Calisea, Earth is seriously flat, then you think volcanoes are fake.
Doesn't that person live in Hawaii, though?
No.
Okay. Because I know there was one.
No, you're thinking of a different flurf.
Yeah,
who lives in Hawaii and thinks volcanoes are fake.
That's mind-boggling to me, right?
I know.
It would be like me living in Arizona and thinking that cacti are fake when I have like 3 of them on the property. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like the flat earthers who are like Australian or New Zealanders or something, and they're like, oh yeah, the Earth is flat and the North Pole's the center of it. It's like, you live in the southern hemisphere, my guy. Look at the sky. It all goes the wrong way for that.
It's like, hey, quick, take a photo of the moon right now. Huh? Why is it upside down?
Exactly. It's just...
And yeah, it's Joey Rocha. Thank you, Robert Madewell.
Oh, yeah, Joey Rocha. Oh, my goodness. Rocha. Yeah. You know, it's actually kind of sad because
Renee, Earth is seriously flat, actually lives closer to me. I think he's on like Seal Beach or something. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
I call him Flat Earth Renee Ricardo Montalban.
I mean, there's worse things you could be than Ricardo Montalban.
But it's just because of his voice and the way he talks.
Okay. But
if you've ever heard him talk.
it's actually kind of sad. Like a lot of like the classic flurfs are just scared away from the internet now because of how badly bodied they always get. And so the new crop are just, they're not as entertaining. And they're also way more cowardly.
The new crop are way less embarrassed by their neo-Nazi
oh yeah, mask
views.
off, like that Caleb guy, just complete like, no, I'm just gonna actually post actual National Socialist propaganda straight to my timeline. And
they used to make an effort to use dog whistles, but not anymore.
No.
Are dinosaurs in the Bible?
Yeah, sure. There's vultures, doves, all over the place. It's probably eagles. There's eagles in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's ostriches in the Bible.
I mean, I definitely know there's eagles because it's in like Isaiah and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, there's dinosaurs in the Bible.
Is the word in the Bible?
No, because nothing in the Bible could most reasonably be translated as dinosaur, because there was no Hebrew word for that group of animals, because there was no concept of that group of animals. But also, there's no word for mammals in the Hebrew Bible, or the Greek Bible, because it wasn't a concept that existed at the time, right? So, no, even if you were to say that some of the animals that are described in the Bible are dinosaurs, which some of them are, and even if you were to pretend that some of the ones that aren't are, it doesn't matter. The word dinosaur still shouldn't be in your modern translation, because there was no word in ancient Hebrew or Greek that could reasonably be translated today as dinosaur.
No, it couldn't have been, because it wasn't invented in the 1840s, and the Bible had already been translated into English.
Oh my god, I'm just taking a drink. Hey, Vishanti, have there been any English Bible translations made after 1941 to your knowledge? You think? Maybe?
Sounds familiar.
I feel like there have been, but what do I know, right? I'm just some poor dinosaur here on the internet. I'm sure the last time anyone...
a poor dinosaur.
Yeah, so, Kip Davis is here. Kip, do you know of any Bible translations in English that have been done after 1841? I feel like maybe one or two might have been made. And if this reason for why dinosaur isn't in the Bible were accurate, then... But the word dinosaur should be in the Bible, because it's how we should be translated some of the words. I would feel like then maybe, since there have been translations since then, the word should be in modern Bibles. In fact, why doesn't ICR or AIG just pay a bunch of translators to make the case that they're going to create a new Bible translation that uses the word dinosaur where it's appropriate? I don't think they'll get too many takers, though, because my guess is that even the most fundamentalist Christian Bible scholars who are going to translate this Bible are going to say, yeah, none of these words is best translated as dinosaur. None of them. Reverend Howell for £2 says, I live in Europe. Do you mean Europe?
I believe in West civilization.
Europe. I don't believe it. No, Europe. I don't believe in West civilization. All right. Here we go.
Probably 5 times by then. There is a word in Hebrew called tanin.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna drink for this.
Yeah. Okay, in case anyone's wondering, the Tanin are water serpent monsters associated with Tiamat or Leviathan, who are basically embodiments of the principles of chaos and the untamed danger of the wilderness in regards to the ocean or the sea. They're not dinosaurs. And also, a lot of the times that creationists mention the use of tanin in the Hebrew Bible, they're actually talking about tanim, which is just the word for jackals. And you can tell because the so-called dragons are doing things like suckling their puppies in a deserted city. Which,
Okay, Mr. Expert on dragons.
Kyle Bradford, not 199, says, looks like Vishanti is about to tackle Dapper. Or at least the Ashalot is. And yeah,
am I right in the Ashalot?
Yeah, you are.
Nice.
Translated sometimes.
I don't watch the live live feed. I just have the chat popped out. So
sea monster, sometimes jackal.
But that's the thing, though. It's a different word when it's jackal usually, right? Because there's tanin with a nun at the end, and then there's tanim, which is the plural of ten, right? Tanim versus tanin. Yeah, it's
painful.
Tell me that you don't know anything about Hebrew there, Dr. Carter. But
We don't know
tell
anything
me.
about linguistics, like, period, because there's also similar shifts between M and N in lots of languages. Just saying.
They're hard to distinguish letters.
Yeah.
Translators really wrestle with this word because it sounds like the word for dragon.
Do they?
But
yeah, they don't
No,
really.
it doesn't.
Now, people in the past might have wrestled with this when it was less clear, right? But I don't think too many Bible translators are racking their, they're wringing their hands over whether or not these animals that are inhabiting the hypothetical future wastes of Jerusalem and howling at the moon and suckling their pups should be dinosaurs, maybe, or jackals. I think we have a pretty good handle on the fact that they're probably jackals.
And Andrew in the chat is saying, wait, have I been mispronouncing Ashalot this whole time? Most people get tripped up by the Latinization of it because it's not like an obvious way to approximate the t sound.
Or the sound for most people.
Yeah, most people who are, like, especially Anglophones will see that as two separate, like, syllables of the t, l. And it's not. It's actually, I recommend people, if they don't feel like they're able to make that sound, that they just use the Spanish version, ajolote, because it's much easier to say.
Or, I mean, a lot of modern Nahuatl speakers would just say axolotl.
Or axolotl.
Yeah, or axolotl. Yeah. Also, Kip Davis says, was Robert Carter Godless Engineer's language instructor? No, it's worse. It was Richard Carrier, obviously.
It's obviously Richard Carrier.
Richard Carrier and Robert Carter seem to have similar amounts of knowledge of Hebrew.
The way that Nahuatl is Latinized or used with the Latin alphabet, it doesn't really work super well. So if you want to say it the way that the ancient Aztecs would have said it, it's axolotl. But if you just get sort of close, most people know what you're talking about. You
mean a bunch of Anglophones reading a Latinization for a language that was based on Spanish but didn't really have a phonology all that much like Spanish might be a little confusing?
And specifically, like, 16th century Spanish.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, historical contingency.
They don't dare put that into their
Mexico, it became aspirated over time, but yeah.
Translations. And yet, consider Job chapter 40.
Oh, God. I'm drinking for Leviathan and Behemoth. We already did a whole live stream with Dr. Kip Davis all about this. So annoying.
Now, Job has sued God. You read the language, it's a lawsuit. And God appears on his...
sued him?
Yeah, I don't know where he's getting that. He didn't file anything.
The only court was like the heavenly court. I don't think Job was invited to that. You know who was, though?
The accuser?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Satan.
Yeah.
Like, he was just derping around one day and was like, hey, I think I'm gonna swing by the heavenly court for a second. God's like, hey, what you doing? He's like, just walking around.
I thought the consumption was like, he was just a regular part of the divine council.
Well, at this particular, like, narrative, he was just derping around. God's like, hey, what you doing? Sup? He goes, just taking little trips around the neighborhood and what have you. And he's like, hey, so check out my homie Job. He's really awesome. And Satan's like, yeah, I mean, I guess. I bet if something bad happened to him, though, he'd, like, totally turn on you. And that's... God goes, bet. And that's where the story starts.
Yep. I'll take that bet.
Bet.
I wonder what God won. Better have been pretty good for all the crap he put Job through.
Bragging rights.
Oh, goodness. That sucks. Couple super chats. Silver Harlows for $5 says, why would people living in around between the Nile and the Tigris-Euphrates River have stories that associate water with chaos and floods, etc.? Yeah, I know. Hard to imagine, right?
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's impossible to say. Must have been an actual historical flood. Savage Geological Species Concept, Cobra, for $5 says, Leviathan was a giant axolotl. This is a position as well evidenced as Carter's.
It's a giant axolotl.
I mean, it's also more
Behold
fun.
the axolotl. Isn't it cute with its little fins? And its little pop sound.
Do we get many tiny axolotl or one giant axolotl?
Let's ask the Spaniards.
It's so deep.
Own defense.
I know.
And he asked Job all these science questions.
No, he doesn't. He just says, look at all this cool stuff that I
Doesn't
have
ask
control over.
science questions.
That's
What?
it. These aren't science questions. It's just like, look at these impressive animals out in the wild of nature that you can't tame. I can. So I don't have to care about what... Like, basically, God just coming down to me like, oh, hey, so things are... Oh, there's Mothra. We'll take a drink from Mothra.
Mothra! I love her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she is pretty good. So yeah, Job's basically like, hey God, WTF? And God's just like, dude, I'm so much more powerful than you, I can do what I want. What are you gonna do about it?
Check out Leviathan. Can you tame that? No?
Yeah,
Get good.
no, yeah. Basically. It's not even a defense of anything that happened. It's just God coming down and saying like, dude, I could totally beat you up, so what are you gonna do about it? And then just leaving. And originally that's where the story ended. The
yeah, and Job's just like, ooh, big guy, like, you're so strong, making all these animals. Ooh.
The last section where Job gets his stuff back and gets a bunch of new kids, yeah, no, that's a late addition to the text. That's not the original text. It's originally a story where God comes down.
I promise it is much more interesting if you read it sarcastically.
True. But yeah, in the original version of the story, God comes down and is like, I don't have to listen to you because look how powerful I am, and then he leaves. And Job's like, yeah, great, that's wonderful. Thanks, God. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
You know that song, "The Heavenly Storehouse is laden with snow." You know, that's from.
You mean like the song that celebrates the flat Earth model, where God has windows in the heavens that he can let snow through from his storehouses? Yeah, sure, I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Job.
That's amazing.
It's all these science questions, and then he gets to this point.
I love it. He says, that's from Job, and then he goes on to say it's a science question. Dude, there's nothing scientific about storehouses of snow in the heavens. That's not a thing that exists. I'm taking another drink for this. That is amazing that he would just quickly juxtapose those two things. Linda Peterson says, where's the original text of Job end? Basically, right before Job starts getting all that stuff back, that was the original end of it. I don't remember exactly, like, chapter and verse number for that, though.
Job chapter 40 goes,
yay, bingo!
Hold, Behemoth. Hold it. Have you trained yourself that when you see a Hebrew word or Greek word in English, you translate the word? Do you know what that word means?
Yeah, Behemoth just means, like, the biggest beast. The great beast. The beastiest beast of beasts. Yeah.
Big boy.
Mm-hmm. Vadim Samovsky Radchenko says, it's hailstones, not snow. JW are still mentioning them. I mean, look, I don't remember Job well enough to know if it's hailstone or snow, but either way, it's not stored up in actual storehouses that can be released through windows in the sky, which is made of a solid dome.
It's like, hey, Heaven, can you just like crack the window for a sec?
Oh no, it's hailing! Ah! It's like, God, maybe use the storehouse with the not golf ball sized hail, please.
Ow, rock ice.
It's the beast of beasts.
Oh, hey, that's what I said.
Behold the beast of beasts, which I made as I made you. Oh, that's interesting. That's a reference to creation. He eats grass. He's an herbivore.
I mean, dogs and cats eat grass, but yeah, I would agree this is probably an herbivore. Mostly because we've seen, Behemoth, I was about to say Leviathan. We've seen Behemoth in art going way back, and it's always depicted as a bull. Because Behemoth was a giant bull. Yeah. It's the reason it's juxtaposed
or maybe
with Leviathan.
like a hippo.
Maybe, but in ancient art it does tend to be a bull.
Yeah.
So maybe it could be something like a water bison or something. It does hang out in the reeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it does talk about like, yeah, it can stop rivers or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. So this is a giant like embodiment of the chaos of the wilderness of the land. Which is why in later literature, which is not that much later, we get things like in Enoch, where we have Leviathan being the chaos monster of the ocean, and female, and Behemoth being the chaos monster of the land, and male, and they're both singular entities, not part of a larger population, and they're contrasted as the feminine water-based embodiment of chaos, and the masculine land-based embodiment of chaos, and this chaos is part of the whole, like, the distinction between, like, the dangers of the wild, untamed wilderness versus the safety of the cities and the civilization you live in, where the gods and the other humans provide an order that provides for justice and stability.
So, Vadim is saying what 𝘙𝘰𝘣𝘦𝘳𝘶𝘳𝘴, whatever they want.
I mean, yeah, although it is mostly grass. It is mostly grass.
I do agree with cognitive trifurcation. Self-aware wolf detected. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
He's got strength in his loins and power in the muscle of his belly.
That probably means he's got like real strong balls, which I guess we don't
got a
have.
big dick.
Yeah,
big dick energy.
So we don't have any preserved dinosaur genitals that I'm aware of, but basically only a certain subgrouping of mammals have like scrotums, which I wonder if that's okay by YouTube. Hey YouTube, can I say scrotum? It's going to get demonetized either way. It doesn't matter. There's actually a clade of mammals called Scrotifera or Scrotifera, depending on how you want to say it, which literally means the ones with scrotums. Spoiler, humans are in that group. Although there's actually one other group that has scrotums among mammals that isn't technically in Scrotifera, so whatever. But anyway, so, and also...
But even if that's not a euphemism for big dick energy, and it's just referring to like big old thick thighs, it's still not a dinosaur.
Vadim Smoski Rechenko, stop hiding scrotum humanum. I'm not hiding it. You can just go look it right up. Spoiler alert, it's not actually a human scrotum. It's the distal end of a dinosaur femur.
Kip Davis is like, hey, there is a whole stream about this on your channel, right?
Yeah, actually there is. We had a special guest named Dr. Kip Davis.
Dr. Kill.
I put Behemoth from the I put Godzilla from the, or not Godzilla, I put Behemoth from the Monsterverse on the thumbnail from that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like a weird like giant ground sloth gorilla elephant hybrid
or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he had tusks. Yeah. I really like the character design, honestly. I'd like to see it in a movie again.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm all about Monsterverse stuff. Like, give me more Titans. I'm here. I'm here for it.
We got some good ones in the Legacy of
Rip
Monsters.
the Frostvark.
Yeah. You know what?
But not rip the little, what was it, the flying thingy with the spit? Not rip. That one was a dick.
Yeah, that one was a dick. I'm okay with it being
screw that guy.
And he makes his tail stiff like a cedar, and I don't care what translation you use. King James says he hangs his tail like a cedar. ESV says he makes his tail stiff like a cedar.
So part of the reason there is that the verb is a bit ambiguous.
Maybe Robert Carter would prefer the colloquial stiffy.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I'm not completely convinced that that's just a dick joke. However, there's a pretty decent chance that it is. The reason I say I'm not completely convinced is because I have not been able to find a unambiguous use of that as a euphemism for penis in ancient Hebrew or any lexicon citing that as a definition with references that are early enough. However, it's a very common cross-linguistic euphemism, so like
I'll just say this, and I know that Dr. Kip will back me up here. There's a lot more like dick jokes and references in the Bible than you think, and the more familiar you are with the language, the more you're like, oh, that's a dick joke.
Look, that's why I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I'm not 100% that it has to be translated or interpreted that way. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely a possibility. It's a strong possibility.
Behemoth, again, it might be a reference, but even if it's not, it still doesn't make Behemoth a dinosaur.
Right.
Every translation uses the phrase, and I've looked at like 10, like a...
Oh, wow.
I've looked at 10. Robert Carter, you dork.
What do you want to bet they were all specifically for Protestants, too?
Oh, yeah. He's like, every Bible translation, I looked at 10.
Yeah, 10 Protestant translations.
Man, you are such a clown.
My guess is that Robert Carter has never looked at like the 𝘬𝘢𝘬𝘳𝘲 Bible or anything like that.
Can he read the 𝘬𝘬𝘬𝘲 Bible?
I mean, there's an English version of it, so yeah.
Well, that's fair.
Cedar. Now, that doesn't make much sense to us. Cedar trees aren't very impressive around here, are they?
I mean, actually, they kind of are.
North American cedar trees are actually more impressive to me than the Lebanese ones, but...
Yeah, like, of the cedar trees, the North American cedar is probably the more impressive. So, I don't know. Yeah. It's like, those aren't very impressive trees. Now look at these Lebanese cedar trees. I'm like, oh, that's not going the direction I thought it
Vadim's
would.
like... Vadim says, strangely few rabbis mention that as a linguistic bonus when they talk of the scriptures. You don't know enough rabbinic literature.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, my guy.
Because, listen, there are some really famous passages in the Talmud that discuss lots of different qualifications for things, and when they discuss, for instance, pubic hair, they don't refer to it as that. They call it the lower beard. So, yeah, euphemisms are...
There's a whole discussion about what happens if a man falls out of the window with his pants down and lands inside his mother-in-law.
Oddly specific.
A thing that I'm pretty sure has never actually happened.
Hey, it's like those signs when you go to like a rest stop or something that's like, do not molest or feed the wildlife. And you're like, you know what? I really am upset that somebody made this sign a necessity.
Yeah, okay, there is that too. Genesis the Kitty, who's been a member for 2 months, says, and is at the annual level, says AIG is a bag of stiff cedars. Yes, I'll take it.
I don't know if I mentioned this to Kit before. My my pet theory, which is likely not an original one, is that it's not Isaiah, it's what's the prophet that gets that sicks the bear?
Yeah, I don't remember.
My God, what? Either way, the kids are making fun of him, and they're like, "Go up, bald head." They're just calling him a dickhead, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I summon she-bear."
Yeah, I mean, I guess don't mock prophets. I don't know.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't call him a dickhead.
Yeah.
In Georgia, cedar trees grow up in old fields, and there's little scrubby things. They're a pain in the neck, so you got to cut them down before they take over your land. But
okay, I don't know about Georgia, but in other places they grow into fairly large trees as trees go.
Yeah, they're extremely tall.
Nether 6 Hair, there we go, for €5 with their first super chat on a live stream. Thank you very much. Says creatures.
Elisha, thank you, Fearmonger.
There we go. Says creationists ignore more than 99% of the evidence, and they lie their asses off about the rest. AIG are a bag of dicks. And yes, that is absolutely correct. And also, I remember as a kid wondering why Elisha and Elijah were such similar names, and like they were so close together in the Bible. I'm like, this is really dumb. And then later on, I realized, oh yeah, those names aren't actually very similar in Hebrew.
Nope.
Yeah,
nope.
They're very distinct in Hebrew.
Triceratops says a friend of mine had a pre-wedding circle at a shul that was just a dramatic reading of Talmudic sex jokes.
Nice.
Good.
That sounds awesome.
Excellent.
Oh, that sounds really good.
Good.
But they're not.
I mean, that's the perfect time, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Trees. But to Job...
Also, he just said they weren't big trees, which is just so wrong.
Yeah, he doesn't...
is the largest tree that he would have seen.
Actually, that's a good question. I mean, there are palm trees that are definitely
taller. What is
taller.
the tallest tree in that region, though?
I mean, there are palm dates, like date palm trees that are taller than that. It's not... I can't imagine that's the tallest tree in that. Look, hey, in the chat, anyone who wants to look up like what the tallest tree is in like the region of the Levant, please let me know, because I'm pretty sure it's not the Lebanese cedar.
Cedars of Lebanon
and
are
yes,
massive
again,
trees.
I'm with Silver Harlow on this one forever. Sway like a cedar is not the same thing as big like a cedar.
Also true, yeah. The verb, whether you translate it as hang, swing, move, or stiffen, it in no way is about the size of the cedar. It is about the motion and the character of that motion. And yes, it's not
and
about
I cannot stop thinking about the way that hippos poop. Because, yeah.
Yeah, because they use their fecal matter as territory marking, which means they have to spread it around. But when you're a big lumbering water horse, it's kind of hard to do that. So instead of just like walking around to do that, they just swing their tails wildly while they poop to fling the feces as far as possible in all directions.
Yep.
Ugh.
It's just a helicopter of poop.
Mm-hmm.
God said he's got a tail like a sequoia.
Nope.
We're getting demonetized.
No, he said
So
he has this. Look, once after like a short hiatus of like 2 streams, once again, all of my streams are automatically demonetized, and I have to manually request them to come back every single time. It's started back up. So, yeah, hey, which means if you want to support the channel, feel free to help out. James Duncan, member for 14 months, says, "Do needs to learn to use tools like Bible Gateway. It has an option that will show you the Bible verse in 50 translations." Yeah, there's no excuse for being like, "Oh yeah, I read it in all 10 Bible translations." Like, come on, dude.
He's like, yeah, all the translations, but I only read 10.
Yeah.
Like, all right, man.
Cool.
We live in the age of the internet. You could literally access any translation on the planet in like 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm. In multiple languages.
Yep.
You would know exactly what it was referring to, and that's essentially what he said to Job.
No, he didn't say anything like it was a tail like a cedar tree. It was one that moves. And I know he's changed to sequoia, but yeah, that's not at all what's being said. You're just in... It's hard for me to imagine that you're not doing this intentionally, although I realize that it's such a long-standing part of creationist propaganda that maybe he hasn't actually thought about it, and he actually thinks that this is plausible. So, like, I don't want to come out and say you're definitely lying about this, Dr. Robert Carter, but then again, given the evidence of your honesty lately, I am not super inclined to give Robert Carter much benefit of the doubt, especially when he showed every sign of having not watched Erica's video about Jeffrey Tompkins, despite saying that
that
he
was
did.
pretty embarrassing.
Now, to be fair, he did later definitely go on and watch it, because his later videos about the subject definitely showed unambiguously that he had eventually watched it. But I do not buy for a minute the statement that he made in his initial response that he had in fact seen it. Because things he said in it...
That was very, like, Sal Bitch made territory there.
Things
By
he
the way,
said
what's
in
the
the
timer
video-
at today?
Oh, 292 days.
Hey, we're getting there.
Yep.
We're getting there.
So yeah, some of the things he said in that video, as well as him doubling down in the comments, he could not have done without having watched, or after having watched the video. Too Young to Feel This Old, who's been a member for 17 months, says, "I am still on my military-mandated relocation and don't get a chance to catch a stream very often, but still love Dapper, Vishanti, and this whole community. Much love to you all.
Yay!
Heart AIG is a bag of dicks and drink, and yes, we shall indeed drink for that. Thank you very much."
This chat is indeed very cool.
Yeah, I've said it many times. I think I have one of the best audiences on YouTube, period.
We have so many inside jokes. I forget that those don't just apply everywhere. And I go to make comments, I'm like, wait, nobody's going to understand what I'm talking about.
I also love when I notice that there's like people who watch me on other streams, because you can tell because they all have crazy names that only make sense on this show. All right, here we go.
He's got a massive tail. Now, I don't know scientifically or even textually that Job 40 is talking about sauropod dinosaurs.
That's true.
You don't know textually. I thought you said you had like every translation says this one thing and you only read 10 of them and you don't know textually. Like, huh?
Yeah, I will agree though.
Weird.
He does not know either scientifically or textually if Behemoth is a sauropod, because, you know, it's not, so you can't know that.
It's not, and you can't read the text anyway.
But if you look through all the fossil animals and all the living animals and you try to find something that fits this description,
it's just going to be like a water bison or a hippo, maybe an
yeah,
elephant.
it's an auroch or a hippo or something.
Yep. That's it. It's going to be a, like...
If it's a real thing, that's the most plausible.
It's a legendarily exaggerated version of that, right? Like, it's not just a normal aurochs or normal hippo, right? It's a mythical monster of, you know, biblical proportions. See what I did? Yeah. Okay, Benthic Tunicate beat 2022 for £2, says Godzilla, Mothra, and Ghidorah with an AIG's bag of dicks and a drink, so we'll take a drink. Although I think that came in over a phone because it didn't actually apply the emojis, which is lame.
Yeah, the emojis are very finicky on mobile.
Yeah. I've basically given up trying to use them on mobile because it just never works. But hey, we are right around the time when it's time to take a break. I can tell because now most of what's left in my cup is just kind of like melted ice and not like rum and coke, which is what it's supposed to be. Which means it is time to take a quick break. It'll be a quick commercial type break if you were, say, someone who watches commercials.
Speaking of display names, read the penultimate one in the chat.
Prixie long names are fun. Sub to Dapper Dino. Oh, thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. All right, so we're gonna. Oh, and we just got. Look, I don't have enough to drink for the 5 drinks. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna read out the Too Young to Feel This Old gifted 5 memberships. I'm gonna read the names. Then we're gonna take a break. Then I will come back and I will drink after we come back. So
hey, Kip Davis got one.
There you go.
Sweet.
Kat T, Ian Chen, Official, Gregory Nitsky, and Marcy Marino. Like I said, we will be taking a drink for that in just a bit after we come right back from this. And please, in the meantime, enjoy the musical stylings of one Beethoven. Okay, we are back. Welcome back, Vishanti. While we were gone, we got a few super chats. So we got for £2 from Ben Thick Tunicate B2022. YouTube is a bag of AIGs to emojis on phones, which is true and drink-worthy. So we'll take a drink for that. Actually, first I'm going to stir a little bit because I realized I did not do that. And if I just took a sip, it would just be rum. There we go. Then DM artificially selected Ceratopsy Wing for $2 says AIG is Richard Carrier of Richard Carriers. with an eggplant and a bag emoji, so we'll take a drink. Goodness. I've actually been noticing that ever since Richard Carrier decided to strawman me and Kip Davis, my scripted videos that I've been writing and making. So if you don't have early access, you might not have noticed. But there's a whole lot more dunking on Richard Carrier than there used to be.
Good.
Yeah, once he was like, Dapper Dinosaur and Kip Davis didn't prove the historicity of Jesus. And it's like yeah,
good, because, you know,
not.
they weren't trying to do that.
Like, there's a big leap between there was a guy is more plausible than there was no guy. And between that and we have proven 100% that Jesus definitely
It's so
existed.
ridiculous.
Because I wouldn't make that claim, because that's not how history works. And
God.
remind me,
Someone with a literal history degree.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you
that's
just.
in fact, there are many things in history that are more confidently known than Jesus' existence, right? Like, heck, just Pontius Pilate's existence is more definitively known than Jesus's.
Yeah.
But that's true for most people. Most people from the first century we have less evidence of than Pontius Pilate. And by most, I mean millions of people were alive. And we don't know who any of them were. So, yeah, the fact that we don't have as much evidence about some guy from, like, Judea who led a, like, religio-political type movement in the first century.
Mhm.
Yeah, not surprising. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Goodness, what am I doing? Yeah, we're here to
Us tangents?
I know, right? So before we get right back into Robert Card, we're going to go on the small, financially required tangent, which is to say, this channel is almost entirely supported by you guys. And you guys actually turned January, which is usually not a great month financially for just YouTubers in general, into one of the better months the channel has had. And I cannot express to the degree to which I am grateful for that. It is amazing the amount of support you guys show me, and I greatly appreciate it. And if you are someone who is currently thinking that you might want to support the channel, there are a number of great ways. Of course, there's always the super chats and stickers and super thanks and whatnot, and those are always appreciated. But there's also a few other ways to get a more regular support that I can use to do things like budget with, because it's hard to budget based on things like super chats, because I don't know how much it's going to come in. So the channel memberships are a great way to do that. It gives you access to early access for videos. In fact, I was just counting, and I have 26 videos that are currently scheduled to go out. Now, not all of them are up for early access, because some of them are supercuts, and I don't put those up for early access. But what it does mean is that there are 26 weeks before I am out of pre-recorded stuff that is on the channel ready to go. And since about, I think maybe 5 of those are supercuts, that means there's like 22 or so videos. I'm not sure exactly, but there's somewhere over 20 videos that you can just go watch right now if you have early access. Hours and hours and hours of content. That's right there. That you can get that if you're a member. Membership also gives you, the fancy little icon next to your name. It turns your name green, unless you're a moderator, in which case your name stays blue, but you still get the fancy icon. So there's that. That starts at $1.99 a month. There's also the Patreon. That starts at $1 a month. It gets you the same access. Either the Patreon or the memberships will get you access to the cool Discord server we have. We actually just had someone join after joining the Patreon just today. And actually, when someone joins the Patreon, we're pretty enthusiastic about it. When they get on the server, everyone waves and, introduces themselves. It's a really nice server, I think. And I've seen some pretty bad Discord servers. So, it's a great time. And that you can also get a 15% discount if you go on Patreon. There's higher tiers get you better, more perks. You can get your name in the credits. I'll read your name out loud in the credits at a high enough tier. Stuff like that. Now, if a monthly or an annual thing isn't your deal and you still want to help out, there's a merch store link in the description. There's also a wish list for both me and Vishanti. I'm sorry,
Yep.
I forgot to link your wish list and your channel. I'll do that right now.
How dare you?
Channel at Vishanti. There we go. At Vishanti.
How dare.
I know. So in the very near future, there will be a Vishanti wish list linked in there. There's also one for Beethoven. So there is that. Those are also great ways to help out. The merch store, you can buy all sorts of stuff. There's actually new merch. So Mecha Dapper, the red robot Dapper dinosaur.
Mhm.
I have added merch with that avatar on it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so if you want to there's some mugs, shirts, there's a bunch of stuff for that, that if you want to, you can check that out. I'm definitely not just trying to fill time while I try to find your channel list on YouTube and then make sure I go and get
Working
your
my
link.
hands to the bone in the fidget mines. Just said, no more tears. But he spelled it like TIER.
Where did your links go? Oh, there it is. And 5 more links. Got it. So yeah, there's all sorts of stuff like that. And if, you know, if none of that's right for you, if you think maybe you just can't afford it, or you're just not really into it, please like the video, share the video. Oh yeah, the Vish list. I forgot. I need to pull out the Vish list.
The Wish list.
The Vish list, yes. All right, now I know a few other things have come in. We're going to go through those, and then we're going to get back to the video. First, Silver Harlow for $10 says, remember, no one ever exaggerates animals into mythic proportions in their stories. Yes. Now, excuse me while I set up a new scare rock in my elephant ranch so they don't get taken away. The rock. I love the rock. The rock might actually be my favorite, like, legendary animal from Arabic folklore. It's so great. Like an eagle that's so big it can pick up elephants to eat them. That's just cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's actually in the Legend of Sinbad. It comes up at least a few times, I think. Ursula Keller for $4.99 says, if you get a Dapper Dinosaur membership, you get access to a members-only videos. There are some are 2 years old. That's true. There are a few members-only videos. They're not like substantial videos like I have there. They're usually just like preview stuff. Like I have a few of the end credit scenes from various times up there just so people can preview them. So there's a few things like that. And then Ben Thick Tunicate B2022 just gifted 10 memberships. So thank you very much. They went to Sir Equinox, Island Craig, William Casillas, I hope, Ernex, Roger Shrum, Pragmatic Crystal, Drewzilla. I really hope that's a Drew's Godzilla fan. Strawberry Milk Goblin, Shauna Davis, and Stephen Kane. Thank you very much. I will take 10 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
And while you're doing that, Nether6 Hair says, hey, have you seen The Wishmaster? And if yes, did you enjoy it?
6.
I don't have any memory of seeing The Wishmaster, so I can't answer that.
9.
I'm aware of it. I don't think that I've seen it, though.
And 10. And I'm also aware of it, and I'm fairly confident that I have not seen it. I'm not opposed to seeing it, though. All right. Here's some more Carter. The whole reason that we're here. The thing that we are delaying with our very lives.
Hey, it's not my fault this time.
That's true. I'm using we because over the course of this entire video, you and I have both, in various times, delayed us getting to Robert Carter.
Well, the sauropod dinosaurs, the largest land animals that God created, they deserve the title Beast of Beasts.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? Let's accept the more or less historicity of the story just for argument's sake, right? Just accept it. That's fine. Okay. There's a problem because we have literally no evidence of sauropods existing at a time where this story could be set, which is a little bit hard to pin down because, you know, the story is not set at any particular time because it's a story that was not really written down to be a story to be taken historically. It's itself more like a moral allegory or a theodicy, right? It's an intentionally fictional story. It's one of the few places in the Bible where I'd say the genre actually does line up pretty well with our modern idea of fiction. But let's ignore that, right? Let's just pretend it's an actual historical event. The only way that this would be meaningful for it to be a sauropod when God is talking to Job is if Job knew what the heck a sauropod was. But there's no evidence of sauropods living in any of the places and times that people have ever lived, ever. So in order to make that make sense, you would need to find them. It would make no more sense than if God said, behold now the musk ox. And Job's like, the what now?
No, the platypus.
Okay, yeah,
what?
No, behold the platypus. All right, fine, hold on. The Tasmanian devil. And Job's like, dude, what are you talking about, man?
What? Kangaroo? That's not a real thing.
Yeah, are you just making stuff up, God? Because you can't...
By the way...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna let the chat in on a joke, so go ahead and finish your thought. I'm just...
Oh, I was gonna say, like,
yes,
like, you even if you have a God with perfect knowledge, if he's communicating with people who don't have perfect knowledge, he's gonna have to tailor the communication to the knowledge that they do have. So even if we take this as seriously as possible in the most literal, definitely a historical event way possible. It still doesn't add up to this being plausibly a sauropod, even if you're using superlatives about the size of the animal, and sauropods are the biggest land animals. And also for $5, Silver Harlow says, "Did you take the Dapper as a professional drink for forgetting to link Vishanti's info?" No, I didn't. Yeah, Dapper's a professional. Take a drink for that.
Hey. Okay, so working my hands to the bone and the fidget minds. Brought up Macaulay, and that reminded me of Macaulay Culkin. And then it reminded me of this really just god-awful movie that Dapper and I watched one time, where these were supposed to be, like, trained, archaeologists and people who had experts in history and, like, mythology. And one of them was referencing Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god from, like, Mesoamerican mythology. But he pronounced it Kukulkan.
Yup. And we're like, look, it's Macaulay Kukulkan. Come to stop these.
Yeah, and so I was like, Macaulay Kukulkan.
Yup. Oh, what an amazingly weird movie that was.
God, that was so bad. And he said it with a straight face, and we
lost it.
Kukulkan.
That was, Canada, do better. I'm blaming all of Canada for that. It was a really good location that they had, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that's why the movie
great
was made.
setup.
Yeah, no, it could have been great. All right, here we go.
Period. They were herbivores. They would have been very strong, and they had a tail like a cedar.
Okay, cool.
No other animal fits that
Monger's
description.
asking what movie it was.
Oh, I don't remember the name of it. It was something we found on Shudder.
I
right?
don't remember the name.
It was on. I think we found it on Shudder.
I don't remember if it was on Shudder or Prime.
I feel like
you know
it was
what,
Shudder,
though?
but yeah,
I could check my watch history for both of those things. Talk amongst yourselves.
All right, here we go.
Next question for you. How could Noah fit
Shudder,
dinosaurs
they
on
got
the Ark?
Dario Argento's Dracula in there.
Oh.
Heck yeah.
And look, here's the thing, right? How could dinosaurs have fit on the Ark is the least of my problems with the entire thing. It's so far down on the list.
Shudder has Videodrome.
Nice.
Yes.
I haven't seen Videodrome in a while.
Do we have a problem?
Look, dude, you have so many problems with the Ark story. This is so far down on the list that I just don't even care about it. I'll spot you the dinosaurs, man. I don't even care. Right? Like, the Ark story has so many problems. Like, you don't have enough room for even half the food. 8 people can't possibly take care of that many animals. Just look at basically any zoo, even the shitty ones that people complain about. Yeah, you need more staff than that. You don't have enough time in the day. The entire Earth has been vaporized and turned into plasma hotter than the surface of the sun. That's a little bit of a problem. I mean, there's absolutely no physical evidence of this flood ever having happened. I mean, everything about the flood is so completely bonkers that, like, oh, how did you fit the sauropods in the Ark? I don't care. Whatever, the Ark was bigger on the inside, I guess. It's just so meaningless as an objection compared to all the other problems that we have with the entire story. And I get why creationists talk about it, right? It's because they want to be able to knock a softball out of the park. That's why, right? It's like, oh, look, we're addressing the hard-hitting questions, and the hard-hitting question is, how could you fit dinosaurs on the Ark? It's not a hard-hitting question, man. If that's your main hang-up about the Ark, and you think everything else is plausible, then just go be a young Earth creationist and accept it. Like, that should not be your main hang-up about the Ark. It's such a trivial thing.
Yeah, we do. Except the Ark was very big.
I mean,
no, it wasn't.
It's smaller than most modern cruise ships, but sure, whatever.
Maybe babies, huh? Okay, well, let me give you 3 or 4 different possibilities, baby being one of them. Okay. First, if there's 50 basic kinds of dinosaur, within those...
Starsong says the Ark was not a TARDIS, Dapper Dinosaur. I don't know, were you there? Maybe Gopherwood has the property of making things bigger on the inside. I don't know.
Kinds, we saw the ceratopsids, right? There's big ones and little ones.
Actually, you said ceratopsians there, Dr. Robert Carter. Those words are not interchangeable. Ceratopsia is a much wider group than ceratopsid. It includes things like ceratopsidae. Oh, go for it. What is it?
The movie is called Black Mountainside,
Okay.
and it came out in 2016, and we did watch it on Prime.
Nice. There you go.
So if you want to hear Kukulkan, then watch Black Mountainside.
Also, Roasting a Keller for $4.99 says, how can all the flood adolescent animals fit... Or sorry. How can all the food adolescent animals, there we go, need fit on the Ark if babies were taken? Hashtag hope and theory. Yeah, it's actually one of the bigger problems with the whole baby idea is that, like, growing animals need a lot more food pound for pound. It's not an obvious solution. In fact, with reptiles, it's an even bigger problem because very large reptiles often don't need to eat much at all. Like, if you took 2 crocodilians on the Ark, they probably wouldn't need a single meal the entire time because crocodilians can go a year or more without feeding. Same thing for large snakes, right? But on the other hand, mammals who have generally very high metabolisms, yeah, you ever seen teenagers eat? You can watch a teenager, like, pound down, like, 2 large pizzas or something, and they're just like, all right, time to go. It's crazy the amount of food that, like, adolescent animals can eat. And humans aren't unique in that, right? Growing is a very energy-intense thing, and you're going to need to feed that.
Yeah.
So, like, and the thing is, we know that sauropods could grow very large very quickly, and all of that mass, right, is coming from the food. It's not like plants where they're just getting it mostly from the atmosphere. That's just coming straight from the food. Which means you need to have that much food to fuel not only their growth, but also all the life processes that need to keep going to prevent them from dying the whole time. It's really not a great solution.
Metabolism is costly.
Yeah, you know all about that.
Yeah. Grief.
What if you just do smaller ones of each kind? Here's Consignathus, fully grown, is the size of a chicken.
What kind is that?
Compies.
Also, yeah, very cute compies.
Yeah, really, what
Yeah, what kind is that? Because Compsognathidae is a family, right? So you could say that's a kind, but, like, does that let you excuse yourself from bringing on any, like, tyrannosauroids or tyrannosaurids? I don't know. What about therizinosaurs? Because all of Compsognathidae is fairly small. So, like, what kind is that? Are you going with theropod as a kind? Because then, yeah, I guess. But then again, Noah also took doves on, and those are already small and already theropods. So maybe he doesn't need to take any non-avian dinosaurs on. Maybe we can just take Dinosauria as a kind.
And if birds are a kind, then why'd you bring 2 different, like, birds? You brought, like, ravens and doves. Like, why?
You know, I've
Just
actually
bring
heard
one type of bird.
I've actually heard Again Earth Creationists say that birds are a kind, or might be a kind. And that was my initial thought, was like, well, then how come Noah had to bring on different groups of birds? Because, like, he had ravens and doves and whatnot. Like, that's in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Alex Marco says, teenagers are literally, I'm something of a family myself meme. Yeah, no, it's like they'll eat as much as a family. It's ridiculous. Feeding teenagers is a nightmare. Not that I've done it a whole lot, but, like, yeah, no, I've seen how that goes. And I've also, you know, yeah, it's... Jeez, teenagers eat so much.
Your average dinosaur...
Oh, Lily Chamberlain, member for 8 months, is at the emulate level, says, Tunicate Godzilla? Yeah. Alright, we'll take a drink for that. But it's the wrong Tunicate. Stupid pelagic
No,
tunicate.
it's not. You need to let the love of pelagic tunicates into your heart, Dapper.
No. But what I do need to let in my heart is wormhole
Just
Jesus.
let them, like, jet them on in there.
No, the jets come out of their anus. It's gross.
Dinosaur, on average, is about as big as a pony.
Citation needed on that one, my guy. Who
Yeah, really.
Who made this? And the thing is, I'm not even really contesting it. Like, that's a reasonably plausible size. Like, whatever, sure. But, like, who actually made that determination? You can't just say that.
Yeah, there were some big ones, and those are the ones we see. There were a lot of little ones, and that's not the ones that we see in Jurassic Park movies and stuff like that.
Silver Harlow says, I suspect you've been a teenager at some point in your life, too. Yeah, but, like, it's hard to compare my time back in the Jurassic to, like, modern human teenagers. So, like, yeah, I've been a teenager, but, like, it was, what, like 156 million years ago or some craziness like that? Like, eh.
So in dinosaur years, are you middle-aged, or, like, are you still, like, a young adult, or
I mean,
how does
I'm the
that
oldest
scale?
known dinosaur, so it's hard to say. At least the oldest known dinosaur that I know of. Maybe there's a Coelophysis kicking around. I don't know.
2, maybe you brought babies. Now, I don't think he brought eggs on board, but
I mean, that would at least help.
It would have been a lot smarter.
Yeah, eggs come with food already inside. Like, most of the mass of an egg when it's laid is food. Right? So, yeah, it would have actually probably been a better idea than just bringing them on as already hatched babies. And actually, I don't think he's going to deny that and say, like, he definitely didn't take eggs, so I don't know. Vandalian 1998 for $5 says, if you could tell which eggs were males and females taking just the eggs from the diapsids, it would save so much room for the food for the synapsids. Actually, in some cases, you can. You can't do it 100%, but there are, like, some lizards you can look at the eggs and... Actually, no, I'm thinking of whether or not they're viable. Never mind. I don't think you can tell from just the egg.
There was, there's, like, a bald eagle family that's on a live cam that I saw this week, and the dad bald eagle is just, like, he has been constantly so excited to wait his turn to, like, brood over the eggs. It's very cute. Yeah.
Dinosaurs can make some pretty good dads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although with some animals that use like temperature determination for sex, like crocodilians, you can just decide which eggs will be male or female based on what temperature you incubate them at. Some lizards do the same thing, where it's, rather than being chromosomally determined, it's temperature dependent. And yes, at certain extreme or intermediate temperatures, you will in fact get intersex individuals, or individuals that are morphologically of one sex or another, but are infertile because of abnormalities in their development due to temperature. So, with crocodilians and many lizards, sex, still not binary. Let's see. Cookies Riot for $2 says, we need a tutu fund. Vish as a pelagic tutunikit. Vishanti, would you dress up as a tutunikit if people paid enough?
I don't even know how I would pull that off.
I mean, it would actually probably be easier, honestly, if we did a sessile tunicate, just because they tend not to be see-through, which means you could make a costume that isn't just plastic, see-through plastic. But yeah, we could probably work together to get a design for a costume. Nathaniel Gray, 3,000-year-old Neolithic granite, which is, the Neolithic in the 3,000 years ago, for $2 says, what about the Denver, the last dinosaur, Godzilla? No, I'm older than that, because first of all, obviously not the last dinosaur. I'm gonna take a drink. But also, that was a Cretaceous dinosaur. I'm from the Jurassic, thank you. So yeah, I definitely have tens of millions of years on them. Actually, someone in the meme dump on my Discord shared a meme of two dinosaur paleontologists from the late Cretaceous, and they're digging up a Stegosaurus, and like, yes, Stegosaurus. It's from the Jurassic period, some 80 million years ago. And yeah, that's an accurate timescale. It's crazy to think about. But yeah, if there were dinosaur paleontologists in the late Cretaceous digging up a Stegosaurus, you'd be like, oh wow, it's from 80 million years ago. Yeah. The period of the Mesozoic is really long.
But he could have taken hatchlings. He could have taken juveniles, teenagers. He doesn't have to take great-great-granddaddy Apatosaurus who's near the end of his life.
I like what Crypto 457 says, why is it that the most fearsome predators are the biggest goobers on Earth?
It's just one of those things, man. Like, real animals aren't movie monsters. And so, yeah, you get, like, vicious predators who will, kill you in a second, but they're also just silly goobers.
Goobs.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, right? And it's also one of the things I appreciate about some of the dinosaur documentaries that have been coming out lately, where it's like, hey, look, this is Carnotaurus. It's a vicious predator that could eat you in a half a second. Also, sometimes it does a silly dance and strikes out, at the whole mating game. Or like, oh, hey, look, here's a Tyrannosaurus, one of the fiercest animals to ever walk on Earth, and it's going for a swim with his babies. It's being a good dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's true for all sorts of animals, right? Like, sometimes lions just go around goofing off. Sometimes they go and, take down with scary efficiency large animals. Animals have different sides to them, and when animals aren't actively hunting or feeding, sometimes they just like to goof off and, be weird. Savage, Geological Species Concept Cobra for $2 says, sauropods, a famously slow-growing group. Actually, it depends, right? So they reached a certain size fairly quickly, because they were very small when they were born. And so they had to get to a size where they were more or less safe from predation. But then the growth would probably taper off, so that they would spend a lot of time getting up to their tallest or highest size. So they actually had a bit of a both thing going on to some extent. But yeah, initially, yeah, they were absurdly fast growers. I do recognize the sarcasm. I just want to point out that there's changes in the growth rate of sauropods, like most mammals, right? Or most animals is what I meant to say. Sorry.
Dinosaurs also went through teenage growth spurt. They
I mean, that's very human-centric, but sure, whatever.
lived based on their bones, and you can see like not like rings, but density areas in the bone.
Yeah, that come in rings, man. Just call them rings. It's fine. It's not the same thing as tree rings, but they're still rings.
You notice that they grow slowly, and about the age of 15, they grow very quickly, and then they level out about the age of 30.
No, that's generally not the growth pattern for dinosaurs. It usually starts high and then tapers off for the most part. Mammals are weird, and their growth patterns are not the same as dinosaurs. So yeah, we don't normally have like a late growth spurt evident in a lot of dinosaurs. We have early high growth rates that are probably related to parental care, and then later slower growth rates when the animal's probably, having to fend for itself and get its own food. But then again,
I got Crypto
sorry.
Crypto 457 says the armored tiger, able to wipe out wolf packs like nothing, eats subadult bears. They become big dumb babies when they discover boxes.
It's true.
Listen, it's a cat law. If I fits, I sits.
Mm-hmm.
Lions do it. Jaguars do it. Just
do jaguar
give 'em a box.
do it?
Kitties love boxes.
Yeah, but jaguars do it. But do jaguarundis do it?
I don't know.
Probably. I mean, they're also
Hey,
cats.
double bingo.
Nice. Also, jaguarundis not closely related to actual jaguars.
So the biggest dinosaurs ever might have been 30 or 40 years old. Oh, wow, cool.
I guess.
Also, how many dinosaurs did Noah have to take on the ark?
I don't know, because you've never adequately defined what a kind is, so there's absolutely no way to answer that question.
2 of each kind.
Mm-hmm.
How many basic kinds?
Who knows?
About 50. So how many?
Just take a drink. You're just throwing a
Okay,
number
so
out.
there's a corvid kind, obviously, because he brought ravens.
Mhm.
But he also brought doves.
Yep.
So those have to be 2 different kinds, right?
Mm-hmm. It has to be at least two kinds between those two. But here's the other thing, right? He's just picking a number that works for him. It's not based on anything objective. And sure, he'll come up with reasons why he gives this, right? Like he could probably list out roughly 50 things and say why he says each one is an individual kind, but there's not going to be any consistent criteria across that group. It's just a number he finds convenient. He's going backwards. He starts with the conclusion, we know Noah's flood was a historical reality. And then the sort of like side assumption, and we know that there's such a thing as kinds. So the number of kinds on the ark must have been low enough for the ark to work. And then I'll use that information to work backwards to figure out how many kinds there should be of dinosaurs. And then I'll just pretend that that's just a fact about dinosaurs, when what it really is just you making shit up. Which,
Savage geological species concept, Cobra.
yes.
Says cats evolved to sit in boxes before boxes existed. How do you explain that, evolutionists?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. It's probably impossible to explain. Pretty sure you just proved creationism right. So, yeah.
Mate, atheists.
Or maybe they just evolved to feel secure when they're feeling pressure from many different directions, because it means that there's fewer directions for attacks to come from. And boxes provide that. It could be that. It's a possibility.
It's also possible that they just know that it makes them look cute. And when we're going, then they can just jump out and go 1, 2, 3, death.
April Van Ryn says, there's only 2 kinds of dinosaurs. The horizontal kind and the vertical kind that eat the horizontal ones. Yeah, just 2. Go for it.
Yes! Just 2.
Dinosaurs. And the ark is huge.
It's
I guess.
not that big. I've been on an aircraft carrier.
Even the biggest dinosaurs would fit with room to spare, plus all the food and water they need for an entire year. So it's really...
That's actually not true. When you actually take a look at people who've done the calculation who aren't young Earth creationists, they never actually come up with enough food and water space for all the animals that are presumably needed. So, yeah, I don't actually buy this. But again, it's so far down on the list of complaints that I have about the Ark. it's just trivial. It's like complaining like, how did Noah and his family take care of hangnails while they were on the ark? I'm like, I don't care, man.
Oh my god.
I just don't. Vandalian 1998 for $5 says, all the avian dinos got to bring 7 pairs of mates on the ark. Does that mean that the non-avian dinosaurs got to bring 7 pairs too? Yeah, good question. Yeah, maybe we needed 7. It's either 7 or 7 pairs of all the dinosaurs. Because, like, I don't know what the rules are for whether dinosaurs are clean or not. So, yeah.
Some would be.
I mean,
don't
yeah,
think
some
all of them
birds
are.
are. But, like, what about, like, a microraptor? It's very bird-like. It could probably glide. It's not any of the specifically non-clean kinds of bird. I don't know.
Imagine me, like, sending an email to, like, Rabbi Elliot Dorff, who is an actual POSEC, and just being like, hey, is this one specific dinosaur code? He'd be like, what are you talking about? Don't email me ever again.
So, weird question, but about Caudipteryx zooey, I might have reason to think it could be kosher. Can I eat one of those?
They're gonna probably give me the same response that I got when I reminded one of my rabbis that giraffes are technically kosher, and it was just like, okay, well, if you find a community that eats giraffes regularly, let me know.
There must be some people, probably not Jewish people, but there must be people out there eating giraffes. So,
I mean, look, if it was starve to death or eat a giraffe, well, I know what I'm picking, so.
I mean, okay, but that's probably also the case if it were just a pig.
Well, yeah, obviously, in pretty much any rabbi worth their salt would tell you that. If you were literally about to starve to death,
yeah, you eat what you can.
You would eat. You'd eat the pig. Yeah.
Yeah, because basically almost every law goes away when there's a danger to human life. If it's like, eat the bacon or die, just eat the bacon.
Exactly. It's just, dude, and it's the principle you shall live by the commandments, not die by them. So yeah, if you're starving to death.
Yep. Or I would say even if it's a situation where, like, the only food available, like, you're not currently in a starvation situation, but you have, like, the next year ahead of you and the only thing available is pork, you're probably going to eat the pork over the course of that year.
Trapped on a desert island and there's, like, no fruits or maybe limited fruits or something. Yeah. Like, come on. You got to use your common sense there. So, because ultimately these things are identity markers.
Yeah,
so.
They're not. It's not really like a moral question, which is one of the reasons why you know Jews don't tend to go around telling other people to eat kosher.
Pretty
that's
much
not really the point of the kosher rules. It's not that this is how everyone should eat. It's just, like, this is a cultural.
Somebody
identity.
also, like, they brought this. I think that's come up in the chat before, and it was just like, hey, quick, find me a penalty for eating something that's not kosher. I'll wait.
Yeah, like what happens?
And overwhelmingly, it's like, oh wait, there's not listed penalty. Oh, huh. Okay.
I think what actually happens is, like, some nosy woman at the synagogue turns her nose up at you, and it's like, okay, cool. Thanks, Ethel.
I love Alex Markel for the win. The island of 30 to 50 feral.
Actually, if I were on that island, I would be more concerned with them killing me than whether or not I should eat them.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Damn, feral hogs are dangerous.
Yes, they are.
And I love that in the United States, there's basically no rules about hunting them, so people can, like, just get in helicopters with, like, semi-automatic rifles and
machine guns. Yeah, it's just mow them down.
Yep.
Really not a problem. I set it up as a problem, but it's really not.
Yeah, that's what I said at the beginning, man. I would have been fine with you just being like, yeah, no, it's not a problem. Like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. I don't care.
There's several possible answers. I'd be happy with any of them.
Or, hey, what about a combination? Take the eggs of small dinosaurs. Like, whatever. Who cares?
And I like it when scientifically you have more than one answer for something.
Roasting a Keller for $4.99 says, if you are starving, eat the pig before the pig eats you. Yes. Yes.
That's also pretty sound advice.
Good advice, yeah. Yeah, because that pig will not hesitate.
Mm-mm.
Because it means that when someone's like, dinosaur in the ark, ha ha ha, it's like, what's your problem?
No, my goodness. Look, I don't know all the people doing, like, criticism of Noah's Ark, but I am never going to be like, you know what's silly about Noah's Ark story? Dinosaurs. It's
oh, God.
No.
So... Star Song is correct. Farm animals are more dangerous than most people realize. And Lance's Fossil Corner, this is a question I'll put to you. If you put a short wall between a dinosaur and food, would they pace back and forth like turkeys, or would they figure it out and go around the wall like ducks?
It's going to depend on the dinosaur. There's a whole range of like inferred intelligence in various dinosaurs, right? So some of them seem to have been particularly stupid, like the stegosaurids, who had absurdly tiny brains. But then again, you have some fairly large-brained groups of like dromaeosaurs and other like Paravian dinosaurs that seem to have been a lot smarter than that. But then even within modern dinosaurs, right? Like you gave two examples of two different dinosaurs. So there's no one answer to that question. And I can say that with confidence, even though I can't test it on any given individual species of dinosaur that's not extant anymore. But just because of the wide variety in modern dinosaurs and the variety that we know of in the brain structure and brain sizes of Mesozoic dinosaurs, yeah, it's going to be a case by case. The bigger, brainier ones are probably going to be more likely to figure out how to go around the wall, and the dumber, smaller brain ones probably won't. Silver Harlow for $5 says, I think they try to scientifically justify the flood miracle just to troll scientists and get the, well, actually, attention we're providing. I agree with the first part. I think there's a little bit of just like, ha, look, we can figure this out. I actually think the real reason they do it, though, is to help keep people believing what they think is an important aspect of their like religious ideology. I think that's the real reason.
I think we just figured out why dinosaurs didn't survive the flood, or didn't survive very long after the flood when they got off the Argus, because, you know, if you take eggs, maybe some of them didn't hatch and you just, oops.
Yeah. Although I feel like God would have provided viable eggs.
Okay. Maybe people wanted an omelet and Noah's like, hey,
yeah,
check out those eggs.
All those dinosaurs going extinct because Noah's family got hungry. All right, here we go.
Which answer would you like? My next question is, what happened to the dinosaurs?
I mean, lots of things happen to lots of different dinosaurs.
They're not here today.
Yes, they are.
Pick an era.
Yeah, there's currently 10,000 or so known species of dinosaurs today, which is more than we know of for the entire Mesozoic. Now, granted, at any time in the Mesozoic, there were probably more than 10,000 species of dinosaur. I'm just saying, like, dinosaurs are doing pretty well. They're not generally in danger of going extinct anytime soon. Individual species are, but yeah, the group of dinosaurs not going extinct anytime soon.
An article. I called it "Dinosaurs Are Extinct," and my boss made me change it. Dinosaurs are almost certainly extinct.
They are literally not.
I'm just going to take a drink because dinosaurs are very much not extinct. I see dinosaurs basically every day. Like, I think the only way for me to not see a dinosaur on a given day would be if I literally just stayed in bed the entire day. So. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Vadim Smolsky-Rodchenko says, remember the burnt offering Noah made after the landing of the Ark? That's the omelet.
Oh, okay.
Yep, there you go. Found it.
Also, you'd think that it would be a clue that maybe this story shouldn't be overly literal, that Noah is ordered to take on board different amounts of animals based on whether or not they're clean, without anyone ever having delivered rules about what's clean and not clean?
That is unwelcome nuance.
Huh, okay.
The creationists, my group included, have been reporting for decades on sightings of living dinosaurs.
I mean, he obviously means non-avian dinosaurs, and here's the thing.
I was going to say, there's dinosaurs outside my window right now.
Yeah. There have been plenty of sightings of things that have been described as dinosaurs. You know what there hasn't been ever in the entire history of the human species? Physical evidence of extant non-avian dinosaurs. Right? There's never been a scrap of hide, fecal pellet, a new footprint that's unambiguously not a hoax, a body, verifiable footage, nothing, right? And the thing is, we know of animals that were originally what we would now call cryptids, that people didn't think were real, but that some people reported seeing, and then there were expeditions mounted to go find them. And you know what the difference is? We found them. The gorilla and the okapi are two prominent examples of things that they used to basically just be cryptids. But now they're in
Albino
zoos.
giraffes.
Yeah. Now they're in zoos. You can go see them. I mean, I've seen both of those animals in person. I don't know about you, Vishanti. Have you seen gorillas and okapis in person?
I've seen copies in person. Yes, actually, I have seen both in person.
So, like, that's the difference, right? If you want to tell me that, like, oh, 𝘙𝘢𝘳𝘵𝘦𝘳𝘳 is definitely hiding in the Congo and it's a sauropod dinosaur, great. Go put one in a zoo, man.
Yeah. I like what Crypto457 says. Oh god, imagine Noah trying to wrangle an ankylosaurus, the one animal that even T-Rex knows. Yep, I'm not messing with that danger potato.
Yeah, no, don't mess with that. That's a great way to just, even if you're a T-Rex, it's a great way to just shatter your leg. And if you're a human, it's just a great way to shatter your entire rib cage.
It was a living sledgehammer.
Yep.
𝘙𝘢𝘳𝘳𝘵𝘦𝘳𝘳 is a...
Oh, I'm counting that as a prediction.
Yup.
Take him a drink.
I knew it. 𝘙𝘢𝘳𝘳𝘵𝘦𝘳𝘳.
sauropod-like dinosaur supposedly lives in a Congo basin.
The thing that I love about this is there's no verified, evidence that the story of 𝘙𝘢𝘳𝘳𝘵𝘦𝘳𝘳 predates European contact with people groups in the Congo. And by most accounts of the people who know the languages there, it's just a made-up term that doesn't really mean anything. And there's good reason to think it's actually just a story the locals tell to scam money out of gullible tourists who go into the Congo looking for cryptids so that they can get things like, you know, a little bit of money for when they go into the city, or just, you know, things like cans of Coke. Things that are hard to get
And you know
in
what?
the Congo.
I can't even hate on that.
No.
You gotta hustle, man. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Look, a bunch of idiot Europeans and Americans coming in being like, where's the dinosaurs? Scam the crap out of them, man. Go for it. Have fun, Congo people. More power to you, because, like, that's just some dumb stuff. They were asking for it. Tell them all the stories about 𝘙𝘢𝘳𝘳𝘵𝘦𝘳𝘳 you want. No grudge from me. Like, at certain people are just being so dumb that you just, like, sure, I'll entertain it for money. Right?
Yeah, Hads says it means white man bait.
Yes. Yeah, 𝘙𝘢𝘳𝘳𝘳𝘳𝘳 is probably it's probably an artificial construction, at least in my opinion. I can't prove that to you, but yeah.
Other things from the South Sea Islands, and my basic shtick was, okay, that was 30 years ago. None of them had been confirmed.
No, he's making a good point. I'll take a drink.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the thing is, look, I know
so maybe you should stop parroting it.
Well, okay, to be fair, he did write the article about why dinosaurs are extinct, meaning non-avian dinosaurs, and it wasn't him who changed the title. He was forced to. So I'll take a drink for him being right about this, and I think he and I would agree on this, that these stories are probably not true. So I want to acknowledge when Dr. Carter is right, because sometimes he is, and I don't want to pretend that he's never right. He's definitely a step up from, like, Kent Hovind, who seems to be, for some reason, wrong about just, like, everything he says. And that's not Robert Carter, and I don't want to pretend it is.
We need to let it go.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's true. Maybe there's a dinosaur still living in some unreached part of the Earth.
I even agree about that.
But we have satellite imagery everywhere, and we can see cows in those satellite images. We can read license plates on some of them. I mean, there's no evidence of dinosaurs hiding places. We might find one, sure. But as more time...
Robert Carter, have you tried the Hollow Earth? Checkmate.
He doesn't want to because of all the time dilation.
You know, that's fair. I'll give him that one.
Time passes, it becomes less and less likely. So they're almost certainly extinct. Why? Consider the post-flood world.
Okay, a ball of plasma. Maybe it's cooled down enough that now it's just like a pile of, like, basalt and rhyolite.
Freaking plasma Earth.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we've just basically got just a bunch of, like, rhyolite and basalt bare planet. The atmosphere has probably escaped because it turned into a bunch of ions. Probably got swept away by the cosmic wind. Definitely wouldn't have been keeping the same magnetic field going, so who knows where that's at. Alright, got it. It's in my brain.
In the post-flood world, all the largest examples of different types of animals have died.
That's not true.
What?
I mean, We've got the largest whales to ever exist right now, which would be hard for them to do in a post-flood world because there shouldn't be really any oceans or free oxygen. So,
yeah, I was going to say, didn't like the plasma Earth like burn off all the atmosphere and vaporize the oceans? And
I really feel
Wow.
like until the creationists manage to solve the heat problem, there's really no reason to ever entertain any of their flood hypotheticals. Because, like,
yeah,
dude, all your flood models turn the Earth into a ball of plasma. Get back to me when you have that fixed. Until then, I will not go along with any of your hypotheticals. Savage Geological Species Concept Cobra for $2 says, perhaps you should check with the Professor Challenger. Sorry, with Professor Challenger. Yes. Actually, it's kind of like, you know, like the utopian socialists from France in like the 18th century, and they're like, yes, once we create our socialist society, the oceans will be as sweet as lemonade. Birds will fly into your oven already plucked, and lions will be so friendly that you'll be able to ride them like horses. Like, dude, all right, get back to me when you figure out the chemical mechanism for making the ocean drinkable. Until then, I'm not going to buy any of the rest of this stuff. Like, there's no point in even talking about it.
Desalinization is... I didn't realize that was a communist ideal there. Like, all right.
Well, the thing is, it's not even a communist ideal. It's supposed to be this thing that just kind of happens naturally after the humans start being nice to each other.
Okay, well, there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not saying don't be nice to each other, but I somehow think that no matter how nice people are to each other, and no matter how much people are have their needs provided for them, I don't think any of it's ever going to turn the ocean sweet like lemonade. I also don't think it's going to induce birds to pluck themselves and then somehow fly, despite already being plucked, into my oven. There's another thing, yeah. Hey, man, before I implement any of your social ideas, could you tell me how an already plucked bird is going to fly? Because that would be a really interesting thing for me to know about. And that's the same thing with the heart, right? This is like, dude, you've got so many problems at the very base of this whole idea that I don't care about all your hypotheticals.
Large animals are under ecological pressure to go extinct, much more than small animals.
Yeah, that's why we don't have a lot of big animals right now. Am I right?
Yeah, basically.
Stares in elephant, stares in blue whale, stares in hippo, stares in like all of the freaking what are they called?
Megafauna?
Yeah, megafauna, but like a bunch of them was went extinct. But
yeah.
I was gonna say.
So here's the thing.
Anyway, my brain just short-circuited. I knew what I meant.
It's okay. There is some truth to the idea that many of the largest members of different groups have gone extinct. Yeah, okay. But here's the thing. At any given time, it's not like the world was just dominated by the largest members of all groups, right? Like the largest sauropod only lived for a little while in South America. For most of the history of sauropods, the largest sauropod didn't exist. I'm sure in the future, the largest fill in the blank will exist. Currently, the largest known squid exists. The largest known whale exists. Right? It was not that long ago that the largest known primate existed.
Giant tortoise, thank you, Crypto 457.
And so, yeah, the fact that there are many groups that had their largest members in the past isn't really extraordinary. It's just one of those things like, yeah, okay, cool.
So is he saying big animals therefore flood?
No, he's saying big animals can't survive post-flood, which, I mean, granted, they can't because it's a ball of molten lava at best. But there's also some truth to the idea that large animals tend to be a bit more vulnerable to extinction because they have such high metabolic needs. So disruptions to their ecology can be a bigger problem for large animals. Yeah, there's some truth to that. But, like, I don't know how you're going to... I know he's not going to meaningfully turn that in a non-dishonest way into evidence for the flood. But, the logic just doesn't follow.
A large animal cannot survive a famine or a drought. A large animal needs a lot of food. And
yeah, true. I'll take a drink.
Large animals delay reproduction.
That's going to depend on what you mean by delaying reproduction, my guy. Like, the lifespan of giant squid is probably less than a decade. And like all squid, they probably reproduce right at the end of their lives. And that's not an unusually long lifespan for a squid. So, like, is it true? I don't know.
So here's an extinct Andean condor, much larger than the California condor. I've held a California condor. I mean, they're big. Their wingspan is taller than me, but
That's ridiculously huge, dude. Come on. They're big. Yeah, they're really big.
I bet the California condor's wingspan is less than one wing of this extinct bird.
Sure. Hey, for all I know, the largest hummingbird is alive today. What does that mean? Nothing, really. This is all just meaningless nothing.
Let's say that this bird takes 10 years to mature,
Sure.
and a regular condor takes 1 year to mature.
Let's not say that. Let's find out. Let's see. So Andean condor sexual maturity. Let's see. Certain maturity breeding behavior does not appear in the Andean condor until the bird is 5 or 6. Yeah. Okay. You could have just checked, Robert Carter. It's not that hard to just put in your notes hey, how long does it take for an Andean condor to reach sexual maturity? Which is the point at which
it's more productive to his assumed conclusion if he just makes it up.
True. Very, very true. All right, we're going to listen to a little bit more about what he has to say about birds, and then we're just going to bounce out of here because it's already very close to the ending time.
By the time this guy's or this girl's ready to lay a single egg, there's 10,000 of the little ones. So genetically...
Yeah, that's not for certain. It's on... If you look at it at a very large scale, then yes, generally speaking, larger animals tend to reproduce less frequently and have fewer offspring per reproductive event on average, but it varies wildly. So for instance, many animals, say cattle, they give birth, then it takes them a year or two to wean, and then they can go give birth again. And, they'll tend to be in a more or less perpetual state of either pregnant or nursing, or sometimes a little bit of both. And yeah, and a cow might have 10, 15 calves over the time of its lifespan. Humans are much smaller than cows on average, and by cows I just basically mean large bovids. So we're not just domesticated cattle, we're also including bison, musk oxen, wildebeests, stuff like that, right? Vishanti, how many women do you know who've had 15 kids or so?
A very few.
I don't know that I know any. I mean, my grandmother's mother had 13, I guess.
Let's see. I have known 2 people who had 7 each.
Yeah. It takes a lot.
And we were just literally, what is wrong with you? But yeah.
Yeah, it varies, right? Apes have a much slower reproductive speed, even when they're smaller. I mean, even non-human apes, right? It takes a lot more work to raise a chimpanzee baby than it does to raise an elephant baby. So, let's see. We've got a few super
baby
chats.
Elephants are so cute.
They are adorable. I mean, so are baby chimpanzees, though.
Yeah, it's just the baby elephants swinging their tusks around, or their trunks around all the time, and just playing and derping. It's cute.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Pillowpunk, half dog, half canine for $5 says, the fact that turbidite and tsunamite are not ubiquitous in the geological column is enough to preclude the flood on its own. True. Yeah, it's I've many times said that the problems with the flood are basically infinite. You can always think of another thing that precludes the flood if you think hard enough. I've never run out of things that preclude the flood. Vandeli 1998 for $5 says, did he say larger animals have longer baby-making abilities? I mean, that's true for placentals like elephants and whales, but egg layers don't. Yeah, that's another thing, right? Crocodilians can lay dozens of eggs per year. A nest of 30 plus eggs is not that crazy for a crocodilian every single year, including the big, 4-meter long ones. All right. With that being said, though, we're going to get back to more of this. The plan is next week. I'm assuming that Vishanti's probably going to be okay, but I'll double check with her. Yeah. Let's take a look at what's coming up. Oh.
Actually, wait. That's the. Yeah. Well, I'll let you know. It's fine. I'll let you know.
So it's a maybe on that one.
It's a maybe.
So let's take a look at what's coming up on Tuesday, we have another Kent with Bent. I don't know if I have it scheduled yet. I don't think so. I don't. So I'll come up with a name at some point in the next couple days. But then on Thursday, we have Silly Similes, David Gottlieb, Incoherent Shouty Moron. This is the first episode of what I believe is a 3 or 4 part, I'll double check, series about a Orthodox rabbi named, well, okay, different websites say his name differently. Usually he goes by David, but on the video that I responded to, it's consistently David, so I just decided to go with that because it's what was on the video. And if people are like, oh, but he calls himself David, I'm like, all right, well then he probably should have enforced that on the group that we're putting out the video, so whatever.
Oh yeah, it's painful. That whole series is just wow.
No, it's super dumb. And so let me double check. Yes, it's a 3-part series. Yeah, he's mostly just parroting Christian creationism, which is really kind of sad. Like, dude, you don't have your own tradition of this.
Well, it's also like you can't just argue philosophically for a scientific or historical thing. So
yeah,
that's just not the way that works.
Darkic Law. I'm gonna go Darkic Law Dragon, who's been a member for 19 months, which means I should probably have figured out how to say the name. Says Godzilla stomps on AIG, and they're listed as a bag of dicks, so we'll take a drink for that. Thank you very much. All right, or maybe it's Dark Claw. Yeah, that's probably what it should be. Look, I'm sorry I haven't figured this out. There's so many names to try to keep in my head. Anyway, so yeah, that's on Thursday, and then again, like I said, Saturday probably be more of this, but we'll confer. It also is possible I'll just go over more of this Carter stuff with either not Vishanti here and no one else, or maybe some other guest. Although Vishanti's not a guest, she's a co-host. I don't want to pretend you're a guest. Yeah, you're here too often to be a co-host. I mean, so you're here too often to be a guest. Anyway, if you are interested and you are a channel member or a patron, we are going to be going over to the Discord and watching a little bit of Power Rangers Wild Force over there. We've got 4 more episodes. We're past the halfway point. It's on the home stretch. There's only 40 episodes in the whole season, so like I think we're on like 25, 6, 7, and 8, I want to say. Yeah, so feel free to hop over there if you want to. Otherwise, please have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you guys, all of you, on Tuesday. Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Benthoven, 𝘙𝘰𝘣𝘬𝘢𝘳𝘊, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Denny5252, Elleron Teller, Horseflesh, Ian Chen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Monkey They Them, Robert Carpenter, Sphincter of Doom, Vollus, Eddie McCoy, Ita V, and Strawberry Vein. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.